The oldest saying in screenwriting is show don't tell, but honestly, I think that's kind of misleading, which I know sounds like I'm declaring war on every screenwriting guru who ever wore a turtleneck and pretended to understand the craft. But in my opinion, great writing in a script at least isn't about showing what's happening, it's about making the reader feel what's happening. Action lines have a clear job at the start of the scene. Set the stage. Show us where we are and what the audience will see. This video isn't about that. This video is about how to write the action lines which come after you've set the scene. Because great action lines don't just show us what's happening, they make us feel what's happening. There's one craft technique that'll help you do that. In this video, I'm going to show you how to write action lines that trigger emotion, movement, and immersion. And stick around to the end because I'm going to share a PDF you can download that will help you write action lines that make the reader feel the story. What's happening, party people? This is James A. Hurst, internationally tolerated screenwriter and story engineer, and welcome to my channel where I help writers, filmmakers, and other sketchy misfits write the script that writes their future. Now, if you follow this channel, you know I love dialogue. Dialogue is my happy place. But today, we're talking about the stuff between the dialogue, action lines, which are basically the vegetables of screenwriting. Everyone knows they're important, but most people would rather just skip to the good stuff and pretend they don't exist. But not you, my friend, because by the end of this video, you'll know how to write action lines that hook your reader, hack their brain, and make them feel your story like it's happening to them. Let's get this done. So here's a fun science fact. Researchers at Emory University put people in fMRI scanners and had them read stories. They expected the language centers to light up while they were reading, but something unexpected happened. The motor cortex fired. The sensory cortex lit up. Even parts of the brain tied to smell, emotion, movement, all activated while they're reading. Why? Because when a character in the story turned a doorknob, the reader's brain lit up as if they were turning the doorknob themselves. And this is either the most beautiful thing about human consciousness or the most terrifying evidence that we're all just sophisticated meat puppets. You decide. Either way, this phenomenon is called neural simulation. And it means your reader doesn't just read your script, they simulate it. But only if you write it in a way that triggers that response. Let me show you what I mean. So you and I are going to write a scene together, and we're going to write it very drab and boring to start, because I want to show you how we're going to liven it up with a 4-point checklist that I use to rewrite my scene, or sometimes I'll think about it before I write the scene. So Chad walks into the boardroom. He looks nervous. He takes a seat opposite Christina. Okay, so not a great start. I'm deliberately writing this in not a great fashion so that we can see how to rewrite it. The first question I'd ask myself is, am I using emotion words? So we see that I am. He looks nervous. So we do not want this at all. When you write he looks nervous, you're just reporting. We're not triggering any kind of stimulus for the reader. So we want to get rid of this. Let's change it to steps. Walks is also a bit generic. With every verb, we want to find one that's a little bit more specific. Steps into the boardroom, a little better. Clutching file folder to his chest. So that's better, right? The reader is subconsciously feeling that, and we're now going to have more of a sense of his nervousness. So the second question I ask myself, am I using hands, eyes, or breath? Which I know sounds like some kind of weird yoga pose, but these are three of the most powerful neurological triggers for people. Now you can use other parts of the body, of course, but for whatever reason, I tend to use these three. These are the three that I find work the best. So as opposed to he takes a seat opposite Christina, we want to somehow use his eyes there. So how about he nods at Christina, but doesn't meet her eyes? Now, we could also say he glances away, right? We're taking the onus off the dialogue, which is really what we want to do. McKee talks about this. as much as you can, use behavior for the character to take some of the storytelling out of the dialogue. Because truthfully, on the nose dialogue that everyone hates, and rightly so because it's awful, it's really less to do with the dialogue and more to do with the fact that the writer hasn't learned how to use action lines a little bit more intentionally. So the third question that I'm going to ask myself is, can I add sound? Now, sound is a powerful sensory trigger, probably the most powerful for a reader. Not really sure why that is, but it really puts the reader into the scene. But I have a big caveat: use it sparingly. Do not go crazy with it. Use it once in a blue moon. Don't do it constantly because the reader's going to notice. We never want the reader to notice our writing. But for immersion, one of the best things you can do is use sound. So let's do that to try and liven up this shitty scene. How about the chair scrapes? When we're writing sounds, we usually put it in caps. The chair scrapes. Scrapes is a good sound because it's got nail and chalkboard kind of vibe against the tile. So that's pushing us into the scene, right? We're going to be feeling it a lot more. So that is better. The last question I asked myself is, what is the character trying to hide and how does their body betray it? Obviously, there's some scenes you're going to write, like, I don't know, a birthday scene or something where the character isn't hiding something. We want to show a little bit or make the reader feel that Shad is hiding something. So he forces a smile. There's something he's lying, he's hiding something, which is always a good beat for an actor to play. But let's give the reader something even a little bit more tactile and sensory, something they can feel. So what I was thinking is his thumb presses a dent into the folder's edge. Now that is pretty specific. I think there's probably a less prescriptive action that I could come up with. So those are the 4 steps that I would use. This line we're not going to touch because this is just about action lines, okay? That is the scene that we wrote together using my 4-step method, which you can download by clicking the link below. Look, I'm not saying that this scene is Shakespeare, so the jabronis who want to point out that this isn't a great scene, thank you for sucking the joy out of learning. But even the jabronis will admit that this mini scene is much more active and compelling than what we started with, because these action lines aren't describing or reporting, they're activating the reader's sensory and emotional systems, creating a real-time neural experience, which is a fancy way of saying we've tricked people's brains into caring about a fictional man's thumb-based anxiety. And honestly, if that's not the perfect metaphor for the entertainment industry, I don't know what is. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like and subscribe. And hey, if you want to help me grow this channel, and I'm sure you do, would you do me a favor and share this video with a friend? It'd be a huge help for me, and I really appreciate that. This is James A. Hurst for Screenwrite, reminding you that you don't need anyone's permission to start creating, so greenlight yourself. Give yourself permission to start writing the story or script that is going to write your future. Be easy, stay awesome, and keep writing.